lead the work at Yeldall Manor, and I often feel like a bit of a blagger when I say that. If I feel like a lot of a blagger, to be honest with you, because it's absolutely true. It's a real privilege, and it's one of those things, and a lot of you will know what this is like, where you feel like you're the one who gets out of your situation. You know, you go day by day into this environment, and you serve and you give, but actually, not every day, obviously, because there are days when it doesn't feel like this, but very often I walk away and I think, I've just had one of those moments that life's just all about, where I've really connected deeply with somebody. I've had one of those moments where someone's just shared stuff with me that normal folk pay a fortune for. You know, there's just an honesty and a reality and a hope, and then of course there's a real tragedy, and there's all the tough times. But it is a privilege. It's a privilege to be a part of a community up in Yeldall, and it's also a privilege to work with an amazing staff team. And the truth is, I could take a fairly considerable period of time off work, and actually Yeldall, with all the vast experience and giftedness and compassion that sits within the staff team and the resident community, Yeldall will just keep going. And yeah, it's just a privilege to be a part of it. I just want to honour as well, maybe others will do this later on, but I just want to honour Bubbles as well, because there's a lot of things that a guy could say about Bubs, but the thing I just want to honour him, and I think we'd all share in this, is just for the way in which, let me back up, there's a concept I believe in, a concept called redemption. And what redemption is all about is the fact that as bad as things were, they can get good. And actually, all the rubbish and the junk and the destruction can actually be used for good and for positive outcomes. And I just think you're an amazing example of that, you know. And I think for Yeldall Manor, Yeldall Manor's used to having guys who've been out of the programme for months and a few years. But with guys like Campbell and Bubbles, you're into decades, and you get to see a whole new thing. And with that comes ups and downs and twists and turns. But what you get is just these amazing, and you guys in your context will know similar people. Campbell, Bubble, somebody else I was thinking from Sasha, who's just left earlier. You've got these men who are demonstrating that redemption is not just a concept, it's a reality. And it's encouraging. It's good to be a part of it. There's been a lot of words spoken already today. There'll be a few more. I don't want to tell you about Yeldall Manor. I just want to stick on this DVD that Bubs mentioned, and hopefully that will give you a really good flavour about what we do up at Yeldall. So hopefully here it comes.
Friday night, go out drinking at 5, straight from work. Go home, get changed, straight out again, and the whole weekend was just a blur.
Just jacking up, smacking public toilets, eating food out of bins, living in a flat that you wouldn't even let a dog go to the toilet in. I was a heroin addict for 11 years and locked in that lifestyle. The lifestyle of waking up, nose running, eyes watering, stomach cramps, having to do crazy grafts to try and earn a little bit of money, and inevitably landing up in prison and just bouncing from jail to jail to jail.
I put my life on a par with someone that was in a coma, because I was just out of it all the time.
Yeldall Manor is a residential drug and alcohol rehabilitation centre for men, set in the Berkshire countryside near Reading.
It happened to me one day. I was in the bathroom and I'd managed to have a shave and a shower, and I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, you're a mess. You look like death warmed up.
When you've lost your wife, your kids and everything, and your house, you're stripped naked.
I think it was when I was 22 or 23 that I admitted to myself that I was an alcoholic and I just couldn't stop myself from drinking, but I resigned myself to the fact that that's who and what I was. I was an alcoholic, and that's how I was going to spend the rest of my days until I was dead.
Yeldall Manor accepts men on its 2-stage programme from all over the UK and from all walks of life. first stage programme lasts 12 to 24 weeks and includes a combination of practical work on the manor grounds and around the house.
We have 32 acres here at Yeldall Manor, 17 acres of woodland, 10 acres of pasture land, 5 acres of gardens. The garden is where most of our work is concentrated. The guys come to us first, and we get to know them very quickly. As soon as they come on the programme, they're working with us on a day-to-day basis. So we get to know all the ins and outs about them, and we can feed that on really quickly to the counsellors. I would kind of say to me, you know, oh, well, I'm at work. What's work got to do with my recovery? You work for most of the week. Work is a fundamental part of your recovery.
Twice a week we have group sessions, kind of teaching, encouraging the residents to participate as much as possible, just kind of discussing issues like, you know, what's led them to their addiction in the first place, basically.
Yeldall Manor has an underlying Christian ethos and takes men of all faiths or none.
Okay, well, I'll pray. Father, we've got a lot going on today.
The last thing I sort of perceived I'd ever do or wanted to do was become a Christian. It wasn't really part of me, my image, even though I was in a denial in the sense of brokenness at the time, was to sort of be and remain the sort of Jack the lad, want to be one of the boys type image, and becoming a Christian was the other end of the spectrum, the farthest extreme.
It wasn't having church round down your neck, it wasn't having you've got to read this and you've got to read that. I was quite happy to go and try it and give it a go. I tried everything else and it completely failed. So why not try something new?
It was when I came to Yeldall Manor that I learned how to live a Christian life and what being a Christian really was. And for me, being a Christian was being set free. I mean, my top 3 priorities is God first, recovery second, and relationships third. Without God, I've not got recovery, and without recovery, I've not got any relationships.
If there was another route I could have gone, I probably would have taken it, but there was no other route. And I've not been brainwashed or nothing like that. It was a conscious decision. I thought, I'll go this way, and I've never used since.
The day after I started here, a new resident came on the programme. He was very weak, looked very dejected. I saw him go through the programme, I saw him progress through different stages. While he was here, he came to a faith in God. He just completely transformed. He's still now, 15 years later, free from heroin. He's living a normal life. And that is what I want to see happen at Yeldall Manor. And I do see it every day. And it's just good to be a part of it.
If you've got to that point where you've had enough, and any addict will know what that point is, they'll know what I mean when they're just sick of the lifestyle, they've had enough and they need to change it, then they need to come to a rehabilitation programme. They need to learn how to live life and not use heroin, alcohol, whatever the substance may be. And my advice is do it. Don't live your life wrapped in that mess and that destruction, wrecking families. You know, it's no life, and you can change.
The beauty of it all is you see them arrive at Yeldall, a broken individual, very needy, very broken, very sort of isolated, rejected, and really nothing to offer themselves or the world, as now feels a person of value. And the beauty of that is seeing them go through the programme. Get a lot out of that. You can't buy it. You can't buy it. It's real value.
So that's a sort of whistle-stop tour through Yeldall. The thing I just want to briefly talk about before I hand over to Tony is just, I guess, how, in very broad brushstrokes, we're responding to just the uncertainty that we operate within as a residential rehab in the current kind of funding situation and the kind of the shifting sands and all this uncertainty around that. And the way I sort of illustrate it is off the back of an experience I had when I was living down in South America. I used to live in Bolivia, in a city called Santa Cruz, which was really heart of the sort of narco economy of the 3rd biggest coca grower in the world. And a fascinating place to live, and all sorts of interesting things were involved in living there. One of the things I did down there was start riding a motorcycle. And something I'd always wanted to do, never done. And I remember the first time I really got on the top of a proper bike. being out with a mate of mine, and he says, look, okay, you've been driving this 125 Chinaman for a while, it's time to step up to a 650. So I get on the back of this Kawasaki KLR, and I'm sort of all right on a bike at this point. And we're on the tarmac, we're buzzing along, I'm growing in confidence, shall I say. And then very quickly in a place like that, you start running out of tarmac, you know, and you start getting onto gravel, and gravel's all right, but the vast majority of the terrain you ride on in a place like that is sand. And if you ride, or you've ridden, you'll know that your surface is everything. And once there's an instability in your context, everything starts to go. And I remember going out for the first time, I've literally been riding for a matter of minutes, you know, probably an hour or two at this point. And we're on this sandy road, and it just felt incredibly unstable. You know, it felt like at any moment my front wheel was going to drop out from underneath me, my face was going to get smashed up. So what did I do in that uncertainty, in the sort of fragile context in which I found myself? I slowed down. You know, your instinct is, I'll slow down, I'll be safer that way. And I'll start looking down. I'll look at my environment and how uncertain it is. And we went through a process, me and my mate, of him trying to convince me to do the opposite. To do the counterintuitive thing, which was to say, don't worry about what's underneath. Trust me, open it up and fix your eyes on the horizon. Don't look down, look out there, and like muller it, basically. And a number of minutes went by, and in the end I got fed up, because you know what it's like, your male pride just kicks in, and you just think, okay, even if I am going to get hurt, I'd rather do that than feel the wally. So I ripped this bike open, and it was one of those life-changing experiences, because it illustrated something so profound to me, which was actually, when we're in an uncertain environment, the thing we really need to do is just go for it, muller it. And sure enough, he's absolutely right. You know, the bike feels, you can ride a bike on sand, thick sand, and at 80 miles an hour you feel really safe. You start trying to do it at 20, disaster, and you feel not happy. And I think for us at Yeldall, you know, when I look at the last couple of years, where my involvement has been stronger in terms of leadership, and I think that's what we've been trying to do. You know, we seek to look around us and be aware of our context, be aware of changes. But one of the things I was taught when I first arrived at Yeldall, particularly by a guy called Noel, who you saw on the DVD very briefly, was there's only so much you can do with your knowledge of what's going on out there. Whether your environment is looking very steady and certain, or whether it's looking very iffy, all that does is inform you to a point, but you can't change that. You know, you might be able to do some advocacy, you might be able to get involved in a few things, but at the end of the day, all you can do is worry about what you're responsible for. And so, what we've spent our time doing at Yeldall is investing in trying to improve our programme, investing in getting more creative in the interventions we use, investing in staff training, particularly in terms of counsellor training, and just trying day by day to do the bit that we can do absolutely as effectively as possible. We're in a process at the moment of redesigning website and all that marketing stuff. And for me, there's a link between those two things. The better we get at doing what we do, the more boldly we can sell it. And I really hope, I think by February, March time, we're going to have a fantastic website, a fantastic set of resources that we can use to communicate our programme. But I think the most important thing is that behind that surface and the front is something that's genuinely excellent, genuinely brilliant, and genuinely changing and growing on an ongoing basis. Whatever the uncertainty of the environment, we're going to focus on the horizon, and we're going to muller it. We're going to do the very best. So that's Yeldall. Actually, that's not Yeldall. Guys like Tony and Dave and Sean and all sorts of guys who are here are Yeldall. So.